Well with my soul. I hope every single one of that. I hope, well, in Zoom at least you can. So I hope a lot of people are listening in this morning. The music WG was playing and also the song that Troy sang. That's where we need to stay, folks. In that place of knowing it is well with our soul, being well. No matter what the appearance is out there, knowing that God is in control. Doesn't matter what it looks like. God is in control. And all is well. We're here together to help move through this time of taking off the mask. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I meant the time of revealing what's behind all the stuff that has been going on since the beginning of time and removing the veil that has been keeping us from seeing the ultimate truth of what's been playing behind the scenes in this world for eons of time. And also to remove the veil between us and divine truth so we can know the truth and the truth will set us free. So it's hard to, I need to rephrase that because we need to speak positive affirmations from now on. So I think that's why I stopped. But in the past, and I guess it's going on now, so I'll put it in the best way I can. Communication has not been, since we lost that ability to just telepathically communicate with each other, and I believe we used to have that, and ages going by, we didn't have telephones or anything else, but we could just feel what another person was feeling because we were so interconnected with them. Most of us have lost that ability. So when we get with each other and we commune with each other, a lot of times something is lost in it. We don't totally understand what the other person is saying. We may be talking of the same thing, but we're using different terms, so it seems so different. So now is a time where we're having an opportunity to really be still and begin to look at our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and take a look at the other person too, and see where they're coming from. If the truth be known, I don't think we're really wanting to hurt each other. Everybody wants their opinions to be heard and to know how they feel and think. So somehow we've got to bridge this gap. But this week when I was asking for a direction to go, what happened, I opened up to 2 Corinthians. And in that, there is so much truth that just went boom. I was seeing something I haven't seen before. It was like talking about a veil that had been placed over Moses' face when he received the laws or the universal commandments for humanity. And when he came out of the presence of the Lord, he had to have a veil over his face because the glory of the Lord was showing so tremendously. People couldn't comprehend or accept that bright light that was coming. And right now, this is where we are too. Bright light is beginning to shine within us, around us, and through us all. And when that light of spirit shines on us, we see those shadows inside of ourselves. At first, we see the shadows in everybody else, the darkness in everyone else. And now we're coming to the place to see the light in the midst of the darkness. And I hope every single one of you are beginning to see the blessing, the gift that you have been given. I feel some people getting a little stirred up over this, what I'm going to say, but just look at you have got some kind of blessing out of being at home, having the opportunity to turn loose of everything that you've been working with and for a while, and begin to go to your heart and find out what is it. If everything was taken away from you, if everything was gone, where would you go from there? If you take off your spiritual mask or that we've been wearing, you'll start to find out who's behind the mask. You were behind that. You've been wearing a mask. I've been wearing a mask. We get into public and we're one person. We're at work, we're another person. We're at home, we're another person. You're out doing your hobbies, you seem to be another person. We sort of shift gears, being our very best or sometimes being our very worst. So we're moving through this normal energy that we've thought's normal all this time. And we're coming to the place to find out what's the truth. What's behind everything in the outer world? And then, who am I, Lord? Who am I? Let's just take a minute, if you will, just to come back, be in that place in the heart. To come to a place of being open and receptive. A place of peace. That place that has always been prepared for us. That place where the Christ presence comes to us, not only when we leave the physical form, but it comes to us daily, 24 hours a day. That presence is right with us. For us to be open and receptive. And to recall that we have a purpose. As I share a daily word with you, just relax. Let us answer the call of Spirit. Let us move forward with purpose. Some may think the purpose of life is only to receive material or financial success. This view, however, keeps us from achieving our full potential as spirits, as children of the Most High God. Our world expands when our primary purpose is to express our spiritual self in all of its ways, and to let more and more of that divine light, that Christ light, shine through our being. We can then affirm that letting our light shine is truly our purpose in life. As we do, that divine light is activated within us. We have a zeal for life then. We are empowered. We begin to awake and be responsive to that Spirit's call from within. For the Christ presence in you and me then moves us to be a channel for good. Then we can contribute to the well-being of others on this planet. And as we do, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own spiritual nature and our gifts. Because, as it is written in John 18:37, for this I was born, and for this I came into the world to testify to the truth. Our loving Creator, Creator of all there is, we live and move and have our being in you and you in us. Lord, open our eyes, our ears, our hearts, that this day, that veil that has been separating us from truth on every level of our existence, may we stand in peace. May we stand in love. May we stand in unison as that veil begins to be rent from top to bottom. As we begin to see truth and feel that love that it brings, the freedom that it brings. As we stand in your presence, releasing all judgment, but willing to be led by you, dear God. Willing to listen, willing to go forward and take those steps beyond the veil of illusion into that place of knowing that it is well with our soul. That we need not look at the appearance and judge by appearance, but may we truly become one with your presence and recognize we are one body, one people, growing spiritually together. Lift these veils from our eyes. Let us see, dear God. Amen. 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 As I was talking about Moses coming down from the mountain, and he had the laws, the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. We as kids, we don't like the thou shalt nots. You know, when you're little, you don't want mama to say, or daddy to say, don't do this, don't do that. That's all you hear. But as you begin to look at the 10 commandments, you recognize that they were things that humanity needs to take a look at and know that it's not profitable for you or anybody else laws, but so often we do. But there were the Pharisees and Sadducees that came to Jesus, and they thought, hey, we're going to catch him, and he's not going to know what to tell us if we ask him these hard questions. So we're going to ask him a few questions here, and one of them was, and you know, we know the laws of Moses, and we keep those laws. But which is one of the laws that is the chief law? What should we do? What do you think of all this stuff? And he said, well, I'll tell you what. If you keep one law that I give to you, you'll not break a one of them. And that law is the law of love. The law of doing unto others if you would have them do unto you. This is the greater. Love is great. If I love you, I'll not speak evil against you. If I love you, I won't steal from you. If I love you, I'll not break any of the laws towards you, the laws of God. So Moses had brought those laws down to us. And it says, if you'd like to read the 3rd and the 4th chapter of 2 Corinthians, you'll see that it's talking about when Moses came down, he had that veil over his face. And it goes on in 13 and 14 talking about the reason that he had this over his face was because they could not look on what was about to happen when he brought them the laws. He brought the laws in stone. But in bringing those laws to them in stone, those laws were something that the human mind didn't really want to accept. They were there at that time that he received them. They were looking to the gold and the silver and worshiping gold and silver. Gave their golden earrings, their bracelets, their necklaces over to someone to create a golden calf to worship. And of course, Moses threw those tablets down and they broke. But another thing that I'm seeing in these verses here is that it says that the old was passing away. They couldn't comprehend what was about to happen. That the children could not steadfast look to the end of that which was abolished, what is being destroyed right now. And we can't stand to look at it, is the old. The old is falling down. The old is passing away. And the reason we see this in the New Testament is because when Jesus came on Earth's plane into our world, God was incarnated in man, okay? The man Jesus. It goes on in some of the other parts of the New Testament that says, if you believe not that God was in Jesus Christ, you can't believe the truth. And it's in the truth that Jesus came to bring us. What was the truth Jesus came to bring us? That truth that Jesus came to bring us is that God's not just in Jesus Christ, but God is incarnated in you and me and everyone on this planet. Now, Elizabeth, that's a big stretch. That's a big stretch. No, when you get still and begin to look at things, you'll find out this is the truth of who we are. We are aspects. We are part of a huge body of consciousness. What will happen when this energy starts coming, the truth starts coming from your heart? You'll be set free. You'll recognize, and this is something that's hard to push through in this day and always has been, that God's not a big man in the sky. The Old Testament could not be revealed and understood up until the time of Jesus, and it still can't be understood. The whole Bible has, we have to go back. Where were the very first writings? Where were the very first writings? If we had those ancient texts and we could see them exactly the way they are, and it could be interpreted in a way that we could understand it, we open those books, we'd look at it and say, well, it doesn't look quite like what's here, what's in the Bible. But it's because we could not see it. We could not hear it. That's why Jesus kept saying, you have eyes to see and ears to hear, but you can't hear and you can't see. But there will be the day that the Holy Spirit will lead you into all truth. And the one that's behind the mask, the who's behind the mask, is the Christ in you. The divinity that's in you, that's taken all these ages since the beginning of time to begin to come forth and to blossom. That's why you had very few that ever became masters on this plane. There's only a few masters that have entered in this place because we come into such a low vibration of carnality or the mind, mass consciousness of humanity, that the Spirit of God doesn't truly dwell there. The mind can't comprehend the things of God. It's written that it can't comprehend. Only the Spirit within us can understand. That's why in some traditions, the spiritual leaders didn't want you to even read the Bible or the teachings or the Quran. Only a few people had the power to give it to you. I think in those days it was because very few people could read. But in this day and time, we still feel like there's those that are so intellectually advanced that they can tell us what it means. But in reality, it has to be known. It has to be felt. It has to be experienced. And that's where you're coming to right now. That veil is beginning to be lifted, and as it's lifted on the inside, it's also beginning to part in the outer world. So what's happening in today's time is that veil is being rent, and it started back when Jesus released his body and was resurrected. He said, come and follow me. That come and follow me represented the time when we would release all of our ego self and rise up in the light of our spiritual self. That doesn't mean dying physically. It means dying to the old man, as talked about in the New Testament. Dying to the carnal self. Dying to the old ways of hate and malice and jealousy and resentment. And stepping into that higher self, that putting on that new man it talks about. What it is unplugging from the five senses and the old way of being, but it doesn't mean that you are not yourself. And I guess that's the fear of things when we're going through these transitions. Well, I'm not so sure I want to get deep into my heart or understanding. I might not be me. You'll be you. You'll be you. But just the pain and the agony of all the things that we carry in life will begin to dissolve and melt away. We'll begin to take off the mask of who we have thought we are and get to that place of who we come to know we are. Words to describe it is sort of, they're out there, but it would be great if one day we can just think a thing and we know it. We know it. Know it from the Spirit. So that transformation is speeded up right now, folks. And so there is light in darkness. There is a divine spark of light in every action, everything that takes place. Because if we would allow that light to expand, it would dissolve the judgments of what's going on. And as we move into this, what's happening, we have people all over the world that are touching this understanding, and they're talking about the light that's pouring in, the fifth dimension that's coming in, that we're leaving the older dimensions of mass consciousness and we're rising up. The resurrection is taking place. Well, as that light comes in and shines on us, it begins to bring up the anger. It brings up the darkness. It brings up things you've never known that are within you, within me. Things come to us, and so often when something's happening, we'll project it out on somebody else. No, I'm not devices. I'm not this. I'm not that. We project it somewhere else. But as that light begins to shine, that begins to dissolve in us, we will have no need to try to defend anything that we say or do. There's no need to fight to look after the ego, because what's happening when you come to that place, the ego is letting go, just like the falling away of leaves. You find out, why am I trying to defend something in me that I don't need to have? Am I making any sense? You know, it's literally happening. One reason I know it's happening in me. I have no need. And the ego has a need to fight for its rights. The ego has a need. But it will eventually come together where we can understand each other. I don't know how long it's going to take. But when you feel this great change or fall or feeling empty, or like what is the purpose of life, take a deep breath and turn to your heart, because there you can find the answer. You were meant to be here at this time. It's one of the greatest tests that we'll ever go through. Right now, if you can hold your peace and hold your judgment while we're moving through all this energy, do you think that what you're seeing in this past year, do you think it's not always been here? There was an energy that moved in that was somewhat different. And that energy began to shake up the world. It began to shake up the world. And it began to open the curtain so that we can see the ugliness that's in this whole world and the ugliness that's in us, folks. It's all interconnected. All interconnected. How can you judge somebody else if you've done the same act, or even if you've thought of it, Jesus said. He said, if you've thought of it, you've already done it. You've already missed the mark. Just like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, the thing I would never think I would do is ever murder somebody. Maybe in some life I have, but this lifetime, I'd say it'd be impossible. Until something happened and Spirit took me back and said, what is the most hurtful thing that ever happened to you in this lifetime? When I saw it, when I thought I saw it, I thought this is it, but it wasn't even it. I went back even further until there I was in the presence of someone, and I thought I could just destroy you. You have hurt me so deeply. That thought, let me see what darkness was there. And I had to say, forgive me. Deep inside, I had to forgive that situation. I want you to feel what I'm saying. Not a one of us are squeaky clean, but we have to see what's happening in the world to change it. You have to see what's happening in you before you can change it. And then you can know how to release, or even if you don't know how to release something, Be willing. Be willing. Be willing to let it go and ask for divine assistance in releasing it. What's happening also is there, if I can put it in, I use symbology because what else can we do? That's what the whole Testament, the Old and New Testament and all the old other ancient writings are. They're stories to help you relate to it. So there are two huge minds, let's say. There's that which we call the carnal mind. That's which we call the divine mind. The mind of God, the mind of universal consciousness. And people right now, some are unplugging from the carnal mind. If thousands unplug and are seeking their highest expression, it weakens the carnal mind. And as people are plugging into the universal consciousness or divine mind, allowing for spiritual wisdom and knowledge and growth to transpire from within, and letting the Spirit lead them and guide them from their heart rather than from their head, that energy seems to expand. But the old energy is recognizing many people are getting unplugged from it. Aren't you seeking to be your highest and your best right now? Don't you want peace and joy and happiness? Well, when you are, you're beginning to unplug from the old and plugging into the new self, a new heaven and a new earth. Things are changing so drastically right now, and this is a preparation for that time. So no matter how it looks outside, continue to work on yourself to be at peace. Like Peter walking on the troubled waters. Walking on water. What is that all about? To me, it's keeping my eyes on a higher way of being. Keeping my eyes on the Christ, and it doesn't matter what my emotion says. It doesn't matter what the storms of life are bringing. As long as Peter kept his eyes on Jesus, he did not sink. We can do pretty good being still. We can do, we can be by ourselves or something and come to that place of peace, maybe in our own home. But let others gather around, or let someone turn on the TV, and what happens? We start looking down at lower stuff happening. And down we start sinking in it. You know what I mean? Well, in this great time of change, I know even our communications has been so difficult, as I started trying to say to begin with, or saying, that we have miscommunications all the time. And this week I had a beautiful dream, to me it was. And I believe you're going to have more and more dreams that you'll recognize you're being taught. There is teachers, there is friends and family, and that will come around you, and you're going to begin to be lifted up in spirit. I woke up and I went upstairs one night this week. It was 3:11 in the morning, and I sat down and I thought, what was this all about? And I recognized the reason I wanted to sit still and look at my dream was because I was grounding it into my consciousness. I wanted to remember this dream. And God has blessed me with a gift of doing that so often I can go back to dreams that I had 25 years ago or more. But this dream, I was somewhere in a huge, beautiful, light-filled cathedral. I was meeting people at the door as you came in. It was people from Unity Church. I guess I'd missed you so. It's what I first thought. That I needed your hugs. I wanted your hugs. I wanted your smiles. And as I turned around to usher people in, these huge, huge doors that were open, the place was full of people. People that had passed on. People that I had known. People that I'm sure you knew. And people that I was aware I hadn't even met before. And people from the Old Testament, New Testament, people were there. And there was a huge banquet that was in a banquet room, dining hall, and we were laughing. All I had to do was just think of you, think of anybody, and there you would be coming towards me. I woke up and thinking, how marvelous, how marvelous. And I knew that we'd been in some teachings that day. And then what came to me is when our computers, if they shut down, or if you want to send me a message and the words aren't the way the hierarchy thinks they should be someday, and they want to block it out, and some things are happening now on your computers. My stuff's coming in late, so sometimes I get messages the next day. But when things aren't working and communicating very well, chaos starts. But I believe with all my heart, we are consciously going to begin together in higher places. We're going to begin to meet in our dreams. We will have the masters teaching us. We will share with each other. And we will return back into our bodies when the morning comes. We'll be refreshed, renewed, with new information, with a lighter heart, with that purpose in life of just letting our light shine. This is the dream that I had this week, that we will recognize someday that we are all one. We were saying, hey, brother, hey, sister. And I remembered years ago, a couple of churches I went to, we'd call each other, well, hey, brother Troy. Hey, sister Deb. Or we related like that. But in this place that I was in this week, we all knew we were all one family. People from all walks of everywhere, every color. It was beautiful. But when I start to say there was no division, it's like there was no consciousness of not being one at that place. So words only dub it down when I start to talk about it. But I want you to have your dream and hold that dream and know that those things that you are dreaming about or thinking about, they are wanting to be manifest in our world. It's time to let go of the old and embrace the new. And when it all starts changing so drastically, no matter how it's affecting the outer world, hear the voice of the Spirit of the living God in you saying, fear not, for I am with you. I am with you. And so it is. Namaste. Namaste. Will it record from the, keep going? Okay. I'll close after they close. Blessings. Namaste.
And to sort of tag on to that dream thing, I hope you enjoy this little take on an old song.
Oh, I hope all of you got to hear what Troy was singing. Everything's coming up roses for me and for you. It all looks like it's darkness right now, but the dawn is going to break, folks. And when we stay together and we hold on and know that our doors are going to be open and the doors to other churches are going to be open, we're going to each come together and be strong and bring the light of truth to a world in darkness. It doesn't mean that you have to follow somebody else's creed or follow somebody else's teachings. It means that we come together to follow the teachings that's within us. That's one thing I love about unity. That's why I was drawn to it, to recognize that we're all unity, or we're all together, no matter what creed, color, nationality, what you look like. A rose is a rose, flowers are flowers, and we're all beautiful together. So the God in you, may the God in you lead you into all truth. Let's You'd like us to close with the Lord's Prayer, so we'll do that, and then we'll say the light of God surround us and sing what's the song somebody asked? Let there be peace on earth. Okay. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Would you lead us in Let There Be Peace before we close?